Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another Java tutorial today, and we're going to be diving into a new episode, and it is amazing. It's one of my favorite topics, and this is arrays. I'll get into what an array is, but first, let's stop by the coding challenge and let's show you the solution. So our challenge of last episode was to declare and initialize a string of your choosing, and then you're going to print the word in all uppercase, lowercase, the length of the string, and you're going to concatenate the ly as a suffix and check to see if the word equals pair, as well as using index of to see if e is inside your word. So down here, let's compile it really quick and run it to make sure all of those conditions were met. So we have in all caps, lowercase, the length of the string, ly is the suffix, it does not equal pair, and 5 is the index of the first e in our word. So now let's go over how all that works. So we're putting our string to uppercase, our string to lowercase. Then we're going to do dot length for the string. And then I tried two different methods here to show you what you could have done. So you can use the dot concat method and put in ly, or you can use the addition operator and add ly as the suffix. And then down here, you're just using dot equals to check if it equals pair, and dot index of to see if e is inside your word. Remember, -1 means it is not inside your word. So if you're getting a positive number returned, that means it is inside your word. And there is one other way of checking that, and that is the dot contains method. That is another thing. I did put that on the link on the other video if you did want to check that out, and that showed all the string methods. But now, without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Alright, so we're going to be talking about arrays. In arrays in Java, it provides a data structure, and basically an array stores a fixed size of sequential collection of elements of the same type. So let's just make that an easier definition for you guys. So basically, an array is a collection of the same type of variables. So it can hold ints, it can hold booleans, it can hold strings. You could have all these different types of arrays, but it has to contain the same type. That is what we're going to be doing with our arrays. So why would we want to use an array, you might be wondering? And that is a great question. So let's show you really quick. So let's make our class really quick. Public class. We call it array tutorial. Alright, and then open up those nice braces. And then public static void main. String args. And then bring down the braces. So now you guys are right with me. Compile this and let's toss it in our Java folder, make sure it's all saved. So first off, if we wanted to store different numbers, right? Let's say we wanted to store the numbers 22, 44, 66, 88. Let's just say those four numbers, right? We wanted to store all of those. And it just so happens to be 2, 4, 6, 8, but in the doubles. We could make it like this, right? Int num1 equals 22, int num2 equals 44, and so on, right? We could do that. We could have all four in different areas. That's one way of doing it. But what if I were to add 99 more or 100 more? That means we'd have to make 100 more variables, right? num1, num2, and then you'd lose track, or you'd have all this code, and it's so long to read. It's going to take you a lot longer to type all that out. So arrays creates a way put all of these different elements into one area. It's a collection, remember. So let's learn how to declare one. So this is declaring an array. So there's actually two ways of writing this. That is going to be, let's say we're trying to make an int array, okay? You could do int like this and call it num array. That's one way of declaring it. Or what Java has done to accommodate people that are born into the C language or C++, if they're familiar with that syntax, you would actually see it written like this. And you actually might see me doing this throughout some of the episodes because I am better at C++, but this is how I would sometimes write it. So basically both of these are going to work. If I did want to tag on a number here and just show you really quick, and I call it 1 and I call this one 2, I can compile this and it runs perfectly fine. Nothing's going to print, they're just declared. But that is two different ways of doing it. This on the top is the accepted way in Java. This is how they prefer it actually to be written. This is the syntax Java uses, as this is more so derived from C or C++. That's how you would write it in C. So now I'm going to back a bit, and we're just going to use the way that is formally accepted in the community of Java. So next thing we want to do is assign it some variables, right? Let's assign the array. Just going to call that there. This is how you do it, right? You'd write num array And there's actually two ways of assigning an array. So equals new, and we're making an integer array, right? And then inside the braces here, inside the brackets, you want to put how many items you want to store in this array. So we want to hold 1, 2, 3, and 4. So then you would just put a nice 4 inside that. However, there is another way, as always. So this is the other way you would put it. Num array equals, and actually you would just go right into this. You would go right into your braces, and then you would put in those values, separated by commas, of course, and 88. So that is two different ways. So the top way is more so used, I'd say, because the bottom one, you have to know all the values you want to plug in right away. Granted, you could add on later, but this is, if you know a set amount, let's say you're using an array for cards or something, and you don't want to have to type them and assign them all individually, this is the way to automatically assign it in one step. Because what you're doing on line 13 here is you are creating spaces. You're creating 4 different spaces inside this array to be used, because arrays are more so static rather than being dynamic, as you'll learn with array lists. However, just knowing this means that you are creating 4 spaces, and that's it. You cannot make any more for this num array. Granted, there's ways of controlling arrays to be able to add more space onto it. However, this is the way that you would be predefining the space of the array. So now we have it, right? So if I compile this, run it, nothing's going to happen. We see nothing, because all we did was create the space. There's actually no values in this, and we didn't print it, because I'll show you something really quick. If we want to print this out, it's not the same way. You can't just put num array. I can't just do that and compile it and expect to run it. Why? Because we're going to get some weird numbers, right? We're going to get, what is this, a bracket I at 63 F 45 FC8? That's what we're getting printed. I'm actually going to copy this really quick and just toss this up here. And then I'm going to comment code this out. So that returns this, right? Whoops. Boom, boom, boom. That's what that prints, which is weird. So what this prints is the address. This is the address of where this array is located in memory. Well, that would be nice if we're doing some back-end programming stuff, but we're talking about the nice front-end development right given to the user. This is what we're looking for. So what we're trying to do on here is we need to print a specific area. Remember we talked about those different indexes? So if we had 4 different things, that means it would go 0, 1, 2, and 3. That's how you would hold the data. That's how it would be pertained, because you have 4 spaces, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that is how the num array holds it. So how you would print this out is system.out.print, and you would print num array, and then in the brackets again, this is where you would put a number. And we have these 4 different spots. If I want to print 0, compile it and run it, it gives back 0. So what's it doing here? So when you assign the array, it creates 4 slots, but it assigns them with all zeros. That's how it holds it. So this is what it holds here. That's what it's doing. So instead of printing out a 0, let's assign each individual slot a number, right? So if I say this here, num array, brackets with 0, and we want to assign it 22. So what I'm doing is I'm changing this one to 22. Okay, so now let's do the next one. Num array 1 is equal to 44. So now we're changing 1 to 44. And then so on. Num array 2 is equal to 66, and num array 3 is equal to 88. So what did we just change here? This is exactly what we changed. And now if I want to print the number 22, I just call 0 because it is assigned on line 18 to compile and run. Now it's printing 22. Awesome, right? So now we have all of these stored. So if I want to print a certain number, if I want to print 44, I just put in 1 here, compile it and run it, and now we're printing 44. So that is what this does. This gives the we're going to say value at index, and I'm actually just gonna comma code that out. So basically that is arrays. That's how you would print, correct, how each of the values at that given index, right? However, there is another way of printing the things. Instead of having to print out 0, 1, 2, 3, we can do a loop here. We can do for, and then in here we do int I equals 0, I is less than 4, I plus plus. Okay, and then you want to do system.out.println. You do num array, and then in here you put I. So I'm going to explain this really quick. If you're not familiar with loops, you can go back, watch that video, or I'll quickly show it really quick. So you're creating a value called I. You're going to make this loop run for as long as I is less than 4, and every single time it's done running, you're going to add 1 to I, and then it's going to keep going. And since 0 is what I starts at, that is how you print out that value. So we're just going to print out each value on a separate line by doing this. So I'm just going to comma code that top one and run it. Now it prints out all of them. 22, 44, 66, 88, right? That is how you would do it. And now there's other ways of using loops to control arrays. I don't know if I'll talk about it in this video, as I think I'd rather just get you guys introduced to arrays rather than showing all the complexity of it. However, I could leave you guys on this for the people that do want to research this and not want to wait for that video. Just remember how we assigned it here. You can do something similar to that by doing num array I is equal to some value. And you can make this whatever you want. If you want it to be user input, just remember to import that scanner and they could type in that user input here. And this is what value would change for it, right? That's how you would assign it through a loop. Whatever is in this question mark for it. So that's how you would assign each value a different thing. In this case, it would be a little bit tricky as there are different values each time. So if you were to put 22 like this, now everything is going to be set equal to 22. You see what I'm saying? So I'll leave you guys on that one. If you guys did want to look into that, that's there. But other than that, I'm going to leave you guys on this video. Before I go, let me give you guys a coding challenge, all right? Alright, so here's your coding challenge, guys. So you want to declare a string that holds 5 different words of your choosing, and then you want to check to see if any 2 of the strings are equal to each other. Now, if you're asking me, what if I only have 1 string, 2 strings? Remember, guys, you have to have 5 different words of your choosing, so your array should have 5 different things. Alright, and then you want to print the length of any of the strings after accessing the value through the array. So what that means is you need to be able to grab that string, remember how we printed it, and you want to check the length of it, and you guys remember how to do the dot length method. So just bring this next episode. If you guys are stuck on it, it's all right. I'll show you the coding solution at the start of the next episode. And remember, guys, have a good one.